Well, hi First Reformed Church, and welcome to another ministry update. I'm here in our basement studio with Marty Guthmiller, Vice President of our consistory, and today is Tuesday, June 2, 2020. And we acknowledge we're coming to you today in the midst of a really difficult season in our country. If you're like me, you're feeling a little disorientation, a little discouragement, a lot of uncertainty about all the things that are just swirling around the United States of America right now. In particular, there are two concerns that are front burner, and I want to talk about both of them with you at the beginning of this update. The first is we continue to be in part, in the middle of, in the beginning of, we're not sure. We still have coronavirus with us. And the cases in our country are tapering off. That's the good news. But in places, some of them near us, there are some significant hotspots. And one of those is Storm Lake. And I don't know about you, but over the last couple of years, I've developed a passion for Storm Lake and for Solid Rock Ministries and the church there that's led by Pastor Ricky Sanchez and Terry Sanchez. And they've issued a request to us, to their kind of parent church here in Orange City. And that is that we write some encouragement notes to people who are discouraged and going through difficulties due to coronavirus, especially around the Tyson packing plants. So here's our response to that request. We have 100 cards like this that we are making available to you just inside the north door here at church. And you're not going to be able to write someone's name on these, but we'd encourage you to take a moment to grab one of these cards and fill it out with an encouraging word. Just a sentence or two of affirmation, maybe a Bible verse that you find important. Maybe just address it, dear friend or brother or sister. And we want to fill out these 100 cards and send them to Storm Lake as soon as possible to encourage both those who have tested positive for COVID-19 and those who have been impacted in other ways. Maybe it's a job issue, maybe they're quarantined because of the suspicion that someone they know has COVID-19. At any rate, people there are really hurting, and we've been asked to help them. So if you're willing, come by as soon as you can and fill out one of these cards that you find, again, just inside the north door of church. The second issue that we all know is around us has been the protest and unrest that has resulted from the brutal death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. And this is something that we're seeing nonstop on the news. We're talking about it online and in the coffee shops. And this Sunday, we're going to be speaking to it in the message that I'll be giving. I have a couple special guests, friends who will be helping me with that, kind of via a Zoom interview. But we want to talk about racism and reconciliation and what we as Christians can do to be salt and light, to be a positive influence in the world in this time. So I hope you're here online participating for that worship service. I hope that you can share that message with other people and let them know that at First Reformed Church we're concerned about things like kindness and love and justice and reconciliation, and we want to be better equipped to answer the questions that so many people in our world have today. Now this Sunday we will be live from the sanctuary. This is going to be our first Sunday in which we will not be pre-recording the services. So you'll be watching at home, but it'll be a live broadcast, and we'll have a special day of installing and ordaining new people to consistory. And this is all in anticipation of the announcement you've been hoping to hear for quite a while, and that is about reopening the sanctuary. And we have a bunch of news coming your way about reopening, which will take place on June 14 in this green sheet. Now I want you to be looking in the mail for this green sheet to come this week. It's got a ton of information on it about where we're at as a church as we look toward reopening, as we conclude our church calendar year, and as we look ahead toward the summer and the fall. And there's all kinds of important information in there about our budget, about new consistory members, but it's actually very densely packed with information, in particular, about reopening. And to talk a little bit about going back to church on June 14, I'm going to turn it over to Marty to share with you a little bit of the medical, health, social distancing stuff that we need to be aware of for that day and afterward.
Sure. Thank you, Pastor Tim. The one thing that we know we're not going to do is get things right. 100% of the time is not an achievable target. But at the same token, we're going to do our best to do our best. The consistory has authorized the formation of a wellness team that has studied this issue for a month, and all this information will be in the letter that you get, and has put together a good plan, sufficient that the consistory has endorsed a trial run this weekend where consistory members and families will be invited along with staff and praise team to, as I say, kick the tires, kind of try things out a little bit and see how things flow, what worked, what didn't work, so that on the 14th we can be ready to invite all of you back. And there'll be directions and instructions as to how that's going to work. We'll have 2 services beginning on the 14th in the morning. And again, I don't want to go through all the instructions. They'll be in your packet, but look at those and pay attention to those details. And again, grace is a wonderful thing, and we're going to need to extend that to each other throughout this process. I do want to speak to just one thing in particular, because this is a very confusing thing, and that is the whole notion of masking. And you can go to the grocery store today and get looks because you have a mask, or you can get looks because you don't have a mask. And the truth of the matter is that an official contact with a person is an occasion where you're closer than 6 feet for a period of longer than 15 minutes. And so, quite frankly, I know this, I understand this, but when I go in the grocery store without a mask on, I'm pretty sure that those around me do not. And so there's respect for others, and sometimes when I know that a mask probably isn't necessary, I wear one anyway, simply because I think that's the right thing to do. It respects other people, but technically it's probably not necessary. So when we look at masking on the 14th, please feel free to wear your mask. We will be social distanced in the sanctuary. Once you are seated, personally for myself, I'll be very comfortable taking my mask off when I'm seated, because we will be appropriately distanced. And to be able to sing and worship without a mask on my face, particularly, will be freeing. It'll be good. And so, but please feel free to use your own judgment in that. We are keeping in mind the 6 feet, less than 15-minute social distancing suggestion. But please understand that we won't get everything right, but we very much look forward to trying this out on June 7 and welcoming you all again on June 14.
And just hang a little appendix on that. We do feel so comfortable with mask wearing in church that we will have masks for those of you who would like to worship with masks but don't have them. They'll be available at the door along with hand sanitizer and instructions that'll be not only in this green sheet that again is coming by mail, but there'll be folks all over the church wearing blue lanyards. These are from our health and hospitality team, which consists of consistory members, the wellness team, safety and security team, and they will be giving you instructions. Again, we don't want to be Pharisees and all rule keeping, but we do want to make sure that everyone stays as safe as possible. And one of the important aspects of that, as you see, there's 2 services. Your green sheet will suggest a time for you to come. It's a suggestion, and it's just an important one because it helps us to kind of balance out people between the 2 services. But it is not a rule that we will enforce. In other words, if your family is a 10:45 a.m. kind of family and you're suggested to come to the 8:30, come to the 8:30. Or come to the 10:45, either one. And also, as Marty said, grace will be given. We're not going to say this, hey Marty, you're supposed to be at the other service. What are you doing here? We're not going to do that either. We're all coming to worship Jesus and to be together as much as we possibly can be in the ways that are safe for us to do at this time.
I might also mention, Pastor Tim, again on the suggestion line, is that we're really encouraging those 65 and over to use good judgment. The CDC, IDPH would suggest that those people not attend a public service like this, but use your own judgment. And also look at the list of conditions that put people at higher risk. They'll be included in your letter. Please use your own judgment, and we hope to see you on the 14th.
Great. Now, again, this green sheet is coming. Green means go, because it means we're going to go for it. The time has come. But again, there are two other things on this sheet for you to pay attention to in addition to the instructions about returning to worship. One is about our budget. And it has been kind of pro forma for us in our tradition to have a congregational vote on the budget after a time of congregation kind of perusing it. What you will get in the mail is the highlights of the budget for next year. And we don't have the whole thing in there, but you have the opportunity to see the whole thing and ask any questions by reaching out using the contact information available there. Budgeting has been really difficult this year because we're not sure how the economy is going to go. Are we going to turn to the left, to the right, up, down? So I really want to thank our deacons for putting some kind of contingencies and what ifs in our budget planning for the coming year. And you'll be able to see some of those possibilities and prospects in the budget. Finally, in the sheet, you will find some pictures of our new elders and deacons. Congratulations, Marty. You'll be serving with your son now, Jameson, and 5 other people will be joining our consistory. And just put some names with faces, that'll be included as well. Finally, then, I want to point a little bit ahead to the summer when we'll begin a new worship service time and series. And I'm really looking forward, beginning on the 14th, to doing a sermon series called Holy Ground. Now, a lot of us have had our summer vacation plans changed. Maybe you can't go to summer camp. Maybe you couldn't go to the lake the way you wanted to. Well, this summer, I'm going to take you with me to the Holy Land. And I'm going to be using some of the teaching materials and lessons that I typically teach on site in Israel. And I'm going to be bringing them here to Orange City using a lot of pictures, a lot of maps, with I think some really wonderful applications with relevance to our lives right now too. So we're going to do a little travel log together for June and July and the first part of August, Holy Ground, and I hope you're as excited to learn as I am to teach. Marty, thanks a lot for your contributions today and for sharing with us, friends, your time in viewing. This is one of those important kind of announcement videos that we really want to encourage you to share. So somewhere like right down here, there's a share button, and we encourage you to hit that button so other people can hear what's happening at First Reformed Church. Have a wonderful remainder of your week, and we'll see you virtually on Sunday.